Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a session especially sponsored by China Federation of Logistics and Purchasing during the Automotive Logistics Conference. During the morning session, Mr. Wu Songquan gave us a presentation on the policies and some of the trends for the import and export automobile businesses in China. And also there are presentations on the railroad transportation of vehicles in and out of China. And certainly there is a presentation about the development of automobile logistic industry in the city of Chengdu, which is a transportational hub in southwest China. Two very representative company, which is the largest automotive logistic company, the Anji Automotive Logistic Company, made a presentation on its overseas strategies. We also have with us representatives from a very large private automotive logistics company, the Chengzhou Automotive Logistic Companies, to talk about their strategies.
We also heard a presentation from Chang'an Mingsheng Logistics in terms of their best practices and experiences. This afternoon, first of all, let's invite another speaker, expert at water transportation, which is also a world-renowned company called Wallenius Logistics. Mr. Ryder Liu, head of the Commercial China Logistics Company of Wilhelmsen. Let's welcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Ma, for giving me this opportunity to give a speech on behalf of WWL. You heard a lot about One Belt, One Road. For us, we're the largest rural company. And here I want to touch a little bit about our Marine Silk Road, or our rural solution. These are the 5 parts of my speech. First of all, a brief introduction of our company. Secondly, China's auto import and export. Thirdly, rural shipping carrier industry. Fourthly, supply chain as a competitive advantage, followed by the last one, which is a case study. This is the global footprint of WWL. It's an extensive network across the world. It's a 50-50 share split between a company from Norway and another company from Sweden. Currently, we are involved in the trucks, heavy-duty trucks, and also the sea and the marine solutions. Currently, we have around 60 ships. Around the world, we have around 67 cargo handling treatment centers, and also we have around 13 terminals in the ports with a total employment of about 3,000. Every year, our total handling capacity is about 4.3 to 5 million sets of ships. This is China footprint. Our company was founded in year 1998 in China, and we got registered in Beijing. We have subsidiaries in Shanghai, Tianjin, Dalian, Xuzhou, Chengdu, and Guangzhou. And in Tianjin and Shanghai, we have founded very special ro-ro terminals. Apart from the ro-ro business, also we run a lot of warehousing functions. Here you can see some customers, including Caterpillar, Volkswagen, Jaguar Land Rover, Porsche, and Mercedes-Benz. China's import and export. Over the past few days, you have heard a lot of statistics from different speakers. These figures come from GMI and IHS. I want to say a few words about these figures. This chart shows you the import growth that has been coming down all the time, but it is largely driven by the European OEMs. Generally speaking, the total volume of import is flattening. It keeps increasing ever before the year 2014, but it began to flat ever since 2015, despite the solid hunger for German premium cars, plus significant JLR volume. In addition to that, we have Japanese OEMs that are still ramping up their production in China. And also you can see the German OEMs topping the list of largest importers ahead of Japan OEMs. Only a tiny few companies will see some margin of growth this year. For Toyota, their total import volume is very likely to drop to about 50% compared with the previous year. These are the exports volume. It's excluding the commercial cars. So you can see that's why the figure here is much smaller than the total figure. So you can see that before 2013, it's increasing very rapidly, but ever since 2013, it began to drop down. But things began to recover since year 2016, but mainly manifested in the North American market, including the Shanghai GM and the Ford and the Volvo. In other words, in the next few years, these figures will continue to rise. On the right, you can see that most of the growth will come from those non-Chinese OEMs. In the American market, especially those non-Chinese OEMs, production volume is getting up. But, you know, in Africa, CIS, Middle East, and South America, these are the areas in which our growth is largely driven by GM, Ford, and Honda, and those non-Chinese OEMs. So much for the import and export. Now let me come to the third part, which is the ro-ro shipping carrier industry change. From this map, you can see the ro-ro deep sea trades, 1985. At that time, all the businesses are mainly concentrated in Japan. Actually, the trades out of Japan is approximately 75% of deep sea shipments, excluding the containers. Here I only dwell upon ro-ro ships. And the trading out of Europe is around 15%, in addition to another 15% out of America for deep sea shipments. But if you take a look at last year's figure, you know that our rules are becoming more and more complicated, and the trading out of other Asian countries and regions began to rise, accounting for about 25% of the deep sea shipments. But at the same time, the trading out of Japan is still 35 of the total global figure. Because, you know, there has been strong trend or the momentum of growth in other Asian countries. And if you put the Asian figure together with the Japanese figure together, that's almost 60%. And more companies in the countries are actually encouraged to go international. We can really safely say that very likely in the future, next few years, the figure from Japan will drop down from 35 to 25%, because the largest figure will be coming from other Asian countries. So the fleet growth picked up in 2015, and you know, you are all the experts in this regard. I don't know. I don't have to say too much about that. With larger vessels being delivered, if you take a look at the chart here, you know, the figure actually increased by an annual percent of about 5 percentage points since year 1998. And due to many reasons like the ship wreckage and the recycling of the end-of-life vehicles or the end-of-life ships. So the historical figure is that there has been growth, especially during the 2013 to 14, and the growth rate is about 3% compared to the historical average about 6% during the whole period from 1998 to 2014. And for the net fleet development, as you can see very clearly from the one on the right, this is also another interesting chart. This shows you the significant growth of the world deep sea fleets. The total order book is at around 11.3% in terms of capacity. Last year, the order book is about 82 ships, 4 stages, accounting for 12.4% of the total. I remember a speaker yesterday mentioned that there has been an agent problem for the fleets in China. Actually, agent problem is not a big issue for other countries. You can see from the chart that currently there have been 49 vessels that are older than 25 years, only 6.3% of the total capacity. So this is not a big volume or the big figure. So more and more companies wish to cycle and dismantle more ships to build new ships and much bigger ships. This is about our company's position. WWL Group is the largest operator group in the market, and also we operate 2 subsidiary companies. If you put these 3 companies together, the total handling capacity is about 22% of the total in the world. Currently, we have about 35 ships. Another company called Glorish is also developing rapidly. The chart on the right, colored red, is the current order book by operator. K-Line has the largest number of vessels. Gramati, probably you are not very familiar with that. It's mainly a transatlantic route operator. They have also a huge order book at hand. For the newly built, because of the sluggish market and because of the low price of steel, so it's more beneficial to ensure the recycling and also the upgrading of the total fleet. Currently, we have 8 ships on our order book, in which 4 are undergoing construction, one of which has already been completed, and hopefully by the end of this September, it will be in full operation. So for the whole rural business, all companies, including WWL, have been making a lot of efforts to be committed to energy conservation. Since April the 1st this year, there has been a new regulation from the Transportation Bureau in China. That is to say, in China, there should be some sulfur emission control or regulation for all the China ports since the March the 1st of 2016. And WWL, as a forerunner in this industry, is committed to less than 0.1% of sulfur for all China ports since March the 1st. In order to be a runner at this point, this is our solemn commitment. So all the ships will have to achieve this standard with their sulfur emission for the fuel for all ships less than 0.1%. And the cost is around the cost increase is around $12,500 per ship. The fourth part is about the supply chain as a competitive advantage. We have heard a lot about railway transportation and door-to-door way of transportation and how to come up with a healthy and a solid supply chain. This is really a buzz topic, but generally speaking, we found that with more and more OEMs coming to the fore, they are actually getting more support from the partners. This will also raise new requirements for the entire supply chain, rather than only dwelling upon the point-to-point or door-to-door relations, but rather they want to see, correlate different nodes of the whole network to really reduce the cost and also to enhance efficiency. This is what our customers and our OEMs wish to see. Secondly, our strategic partners are also moving in this direction. They are working on industrial integration, including supply chains integration, to provide more useful solutions to get integrated with the OEMs more closely. Wallenius Wilhelmsen Logistics has a vision to expand our involvement in all customer supply chains in China, from delivery to plant processing to inland distribution to terminal services and ocean transportation. All the links are guaranteed by high efficiency and cost effectiveness. So you can see that all the suppliers are moving in this direction with all their efforts to put the entire supply chain into consideration for the purpose of reducing the cost even further. Because our company is a rural company, so we are more involved in the rural business. Here I want to share with you our strong ocean services to support the China export. Every month we have 3 ships between the Mediterranean areas in China, and also we have the full liner services with fixed routes, fixed lines, and fixed times and schedules. This is different from what we did in the past. A lot of rural companies just adjust or change the plan of the arrangement of the ships frequently from time to time. So that will be quite problematic, because if it's well predictable, you can tell easily as to what routes and what flights will be there for the next 2 or 3 months. And I want to share with you a case study. I've noticed that probably the next stop will be Russia, so this case is about Russia. This place is quite close to the Russian border, 65 kilometers away from Russia. This is a bounded port in Finland. We call it Case Study for Export to Russia through Kotla Gateway of Finland, covering the full supply chain solutions, offering export to China. If we can rapidly decide when and how to dispatch the parcels and commodities to Russia. That will also save a lot of cost. We have spent years analyzing the situation. A lot of our customers like Dongfeng and Chery have embraced this total solutions of supply chain management, from the port terminal's core and to its delivery and express delivery together with the customs clearance. We, WWL, provide services covering all the links. And apart from Finland, we also have services which can cover other countries as well. Last but not least, I want to say that we are here to abide by all the laws and regulations in this industry, and we look very much forward to maintaining our contacts with all of you here. Thank you.
According to the schedule of this conference, and we're now introducing an interactive session, that is the Q&A session. During today's presentations, we covered almost all the points in import and export business. So now it's time to listen to the opinions and suggestions from the OEM. Now let's invite Mr. Wu Songquan, Mr. Gao Feng, and General Manager Gu Mingji from Anji, and Mr. Liu Dawei from Chengdu Logistics Company. Also, I'd like to invite Mr. Yang Ning from Porsche, and Mr. Bian Xueming from Tesla, and Mr. Zhu Guoqing from Shanghai Automobile Import and Export Company, and Wen Tao from Yutong Automobile Company. Then you are kindly requested to come up to the stage so that we can have an in-depth discussion on some of the issues and possible solutions in automobile import and export business.
这样，我们先请我们两家行业里面非常知名的大牌的。
Now, first of all, I'd like to invite the representative of two very famous automobile manufacturers to help us to understand a little bit about the automobile logistics in the importing market. First of all, I would like to invite Yang Ning from Porsche to share with you his point of view. The interpreter cannot hear the speaker. The interpreter cannot hear the speaker. The sound has not been transmitted to the booth. The sound has not been transmitted to the booth. The interpreter cannot work in this condition. We need to have a better understanding of the information needed by the custom house and the explanation of this information. Early on, as early as October in 2013, when the three-galaxy policy was implemented in China, it requires all the importers to reveal the necessary information to the customers before delivery. And so far, there is no clear pathway toward insurance claim with regard to the damages to the vehicles occurred before delivery. And also, I think the implementation of the new standards will be a very good plus. Let's say the GB 1589. And our suppliers would have to be compliant with these new standards. So it is necessary to bring down the cost of logistics and distribute and allocate the transportation capacity in a better way. And thirdly, information. Some presenter said the application of internet is very helpful in the collection, dissemination of the information in a timely manner. When we're doing the vehicle importing business, we need to support the marketing and sales team so that we can deliver the vehicles to the forest center as quickly as possible for the final retail process. So the timely transmission of information, of accurate information, is of paramount importance. Some information service suppliers can provide us with very good solutions like APP. It feeds back the information very quickly. Fourthly, in a highly competitive market, we need to make full use of the existing technologies and policies and laws and regulations to bring down the overall operational cost of the importer so that we can pass on the savings to both the customers and to OEM. So these are my personal point of view. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's invite Mr. Bian Xueming from Tesla China. Well, first of all, one clarification. I'm not responsible for the import of whole car or whole vehicle. I'm responsible for the import of spare parts. But I need to tell you that Tesla is still a very young company, a niche market company, and it's a very small scale. Our Tesla population in China is only a little more than 10,000. The fames of Tesla go far beyond its actual sales volume. I'm quite concerned about the evaluation process of the imported vehicles. Well, probably it's not a big issue for other big manufacturers. But why the evaluation, the price evaluation of the imported whole car is an issue for Tesla? I think it's because, first of all, Tesla is a young company. It's a young brand. It has to go through many rigorous processes. And secondly, Tesla provides tailor-made vehicles, and we provide production-to-order services to the customers. Our customers can place the orders through the internet, along with his or her personal configurations, and we then produce the vehicles according to that specific specifications, and we deliver the vehicles to our end customers in 2 to 3 months' time. So for Tesla China, we had a lot of headache with the custom house when it comes to the evaluation of the imported vehicles. Another prominent feature of Tesla is its battery. Yeah, we can put the battery or install the battery into the whole vehicle, and we can use a ro-ro ship for the transportation of Tesla. That's okay. But for the battery or battery cell, as a key component of the vehicle, it accounts for 30% of the total cost of production of the whole vehicle. And battery or battery sales also faces an issue of after-sales service. So when we have to dismantle a battery or battery cell and ship a battery unit back to China for repair or replacement, we're facing a lot of difficulties in this regard because battery is a kind of hazardous product. Tesla China does not have the technical capabilities to repair the battery, so when a battery is malfunctioning, we have to ship it back to the United States. Or the sea transportation company tell us that we need a lot of certificate before they can ship the cargo back to the United States, but it's a very time-consuming process. Well, the cargo carrier made it very clear that without the certificate issued by a proper authority, it would have been impossible for us to ship the battery back to the United States. Yeah, definitely we're going to set up a battery repair center in China in the future. The current Tesla population in China is only 10,000. Probably in 5 or 10 years' time, the number will grow to 100,000. But what are we going to do with existing battery? If these batteries are faulty, or if the Tesla is caught in an accident and the battery is damaged, we need to take down the battery and replace the new one. We made a commitment to the car owner that we provide 8 years of quality guarantee over battery and electric motor. So what can we do about those malfunctioning battery? We're not talking about the obsolete process of these batteries. We simply cannot ship these batteries back to the United States for repair. There is no solution so far. If we apply for the certificate for the shipment of battery, is that okay? Yes, that's okay, but it just takes too much time and it's too costly. There is a procedure, or there is a pathway in front of you, but it's too time-consuming and it's too costly to follow the laws and regulation. And the laboratory and the battery laboratory in China simply lacks the ability or technical capability and capacity to test our battery. For our battery on Tesla, it weighs 800 kilograms. There is not a single battery laboratory in China that can perform proper tests on the battery of such a big size. Oh, thank you very much, especially Mr. Ben from Tesla, for a wonderful sharing. The Chinese government is very supportive of new energy vehicles, and electric vehicles receive a lot of attention. Battery is a hazardous product. But let's say if the battery is considered as a spare parts, our logistic companies would have to face a lot of new challenges in the shipment and transportation of batteries. So the battery issue reflects the expectations of the importers and the logistic service suppliers in China. Our logistic companies, automobile logistic companies, should take a closer look at the Chinese laws and regulations and improve the technical capabilities in handling the battery. Indeed, when a customer entrusts a cargo to a logistics service provider, he is entrusting all the related procedures, all the relevant issues with regard to that cargo to the logistics service supplier. So a logistic company needs to provide the service that transcends the expectations of the customers. Logistics is just an extension of the core business of the OEM. So once the OEM signs the collaborative contract with the logistic company, the OEM has a certain expectations on the logistic company. The logistic company is expected to apply the new technologies to lower the cost of the transportation and other logistic processes. I think OEMs are pointing toward the right direction for the future development of the logistic company. Now let's shift our attention from import to export. Now let's invite Mr. Wen Tao, General Manager Wen Tao from Zhengzhou Yutong, to share with us his point of view. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to share with you my observations on logistics, especially the automobile logistics. Give you a brief background information about Zhengzhou Yutong. The Zhengzhou Yutong company is a modern company that covering the R&D, manufacturing, distribution, and sales of cars. We manufacture whole vehicles, chassis. We also have highly automated painting or body shop facilities. We can manufacture more than 340 vehicles per day. For large and mid-sized passenger cars, actually we boast of the largest manufacturing site in the world. Last year we established a new energy manufacturing facility, which is probably the largest new energy passenger cars manufacturing site. Last year, we sold 67,000 large and mid-sized passenger cars. For export market, we exported 7,200 vehicles last year, an increase of 8%. We are the export market, including Sudan, Ethiopia, Cuba, the Philippines, Russia, and we also export our passengers cars to Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. So basically, we export our products to more than 135 markets in the world. We have an extensive business presence around the world. So, naturally, we encounter some issues with regard to automobile logistics. In some remote area, when there is a lack of sufficient order, and there's a lack of sufficient transportation route, the delivery time will be as long as more than 6 months. So I'm thinking whether it's possible to establish an information sharing mechanism so that we can pool our transportation needs or logistic needs together. This is my personal wish. Customers have very high expectations for point-to-point service. Because of the extension of the service line, the risks involved in this process are sometimes very hard to control. While trying to tackle these risks one by another, we have already received several batches of orders requesting us to provide point-to-point services. We lack experience in this regard, so we hope to outsource these services to the experienced third-party logistics suppliers to help us to devise appropriate solutions for point-to-point transportation. Starting from last year, in whole vehicle export, we negotiate with ship owners and other suppliers to sign annual contract to improve the efficiency in vehicle transportation. This year, in the export of spare parts, we're trying to put the spare parts into a container, and we also expect to sign an annual contract with the ship owners. The freight for the transportation of the whole vehicle is pretty stable, so it's worthwhile to sign an annual contract, but there's a great volatility in container transportation. So there are some risks involved in signing long-term contract with the ship owners. We're now working with the ship owners and suppliers to try to find an appropriate solutions. We just started to do this business this year, and we lack appropriate experience. So we do hope to partner with experienced suppliers to find the good solutions and business model.
So these are the problems and challenges we face at the current moment. Thank you, Mr. Wen. So you are facing the logistics challenges, especially related to the matching after-sales services. Secondly, about the full chain logistics modality. Well, he expressed his wish to communicate with us even more closely. Also, he expressed the wish that the roller companies can be active enough to communicate with our local Chinese companies to know about their logistic needs, to meet the demands out of their own will. Okay, next one is Mr. Chu, who will share with us about SAIC's business. It's the largest auto group. Every year, about 1/3 of the production and sales comes from Shanghai Automotive Industrial Group. They have a lot of import and export volume, and this morning, Anji company's representative mentioned a lot about their collaboration with SAIC. Okay, maybe next I would like to invite Mr. Zhu to say a few words from his perspective. Okay, now over to you. Thank you, Mr. Ma. You have mentioned that SAIC is already #1 in China in terms of total production and volume, but if you take a look at the whole world, still there's a lot of room of improvement to do more expansion. This morning, our Anji company's representative has mentioned a lot about their collaboration with us. And I also believe that in the 13th five-year plan, we have to treat the next 5 years very importantly because it covers a lot about what we call the geographical expansion on all fronts. That's a very critical 5-year period. Talking about import and export, what impressed me most is that, based upon my decade-long experience in this industry, a new and emerging market come to the fore ever since 2012 or 2011. That's the local Chinese OEM business. I have attended many forums, including this one and many others. The topics we discuss each time changes from time to time, but each time we talk about topics relevant to the theme of our era. We do business, we do logistics, we do supply chain. So the conference room may provide a common platform, which is auto, that will put everything together. So we serve the auto business in general. I'm sure that you all feel that there has been a lot of rapid changes with regard to the carriers of the content and also about the industry per se, in terms of the car sales, car purchase, car production, and after sales. Many things have taken place. And I've seen many representatives coming from different parts of the world, also coming from the premium car market, also sitting here in this room. So probably in the future there will be more changes. For example, you can see that Jack Ma from Alibaba is also making his entry into the auto market. What we really need to do is to advance with the times. For the supply chain, there are two ends. One is all our businesses and our needs. Secondly, correspondingly, we have the other need, which is the supply need. So we have to strike a balance between the supply and demand. Because of the changes of demand, so we have to change as well the supply. The same is also true for logistics, for AGV's application, for IT's application, and also for the whole network expansion and the optimization. A lot needs to be done. All these things will be efficient and necessary for the optimization of the logistic chain. For us, no matter what it is, being import or export, we have to depend very much on Shanghai and the Shanghai Free Trade Zone. A lot of new trials of new business models will have to be dependent on our communication with these government bodies, organizations, especially for trade liberalization and convenience deliverance. Also, we know that we have to further explore the overseas markets. We have a lot of subsidiary companies overseas, also addressing the needs of the international need. the upgrading may occur not only for the finished vehicles, but also for the battery sets, but also for spare parts, accessories, and many others. We will do collective purchasing to satisfy the domestic needs. This whole supply chain covers not only the China side, but also the foreign side and international terminals. This will be our future concentration or future priority. We need to work with the government to do better at supply side reform, to be more cost efficient, to be more efficiently carried out, and also to be more adaptable to the market changes. Finished vehicles, spare parts are the subject matters we have to serve, and also we have to ensure that more value-added services will be coming out so as to more efficiently dovetail both the demand and also the supply. So this will be efficient and also critical to the self-improvement of the companies. That's it. So thank you very much, Mr. Zhu. It's really a great enlightenment to us. For the traditional businesses, yes, indeed, that's a channel. So what real benefit should come from the value-added services? So these companies are making active researches all the time, and for us logistics companies, we also should provide more value-added services to the customers. Okay. We have heard a lot about import, export, SAIC's philosophy. Now we have a few minutes for Q&A. I want to first of all ask Mr. Wu, in your speech, you mentioned that our export is increasing, our import is declining. But of course, I'm sure you understand that the biggest difference between this conference and the other conference is that Chengzhou Logistics becomes the global sponsor of this conference, and also Anji Logistics appeared for the first time on this stage to share with us their overseas strategy. Chang'an Mingsheng Logistics is one of the top 3 in China. It's the second time for Chang'an to share with us their thoughts. For us, logistics, we are actually quickening our steps to go international. China is always stressing the importance of shifting from big country to strong country, no matter from which perspective, being China Manufacturing 2025 or Industrialization 4.0, we need to go outside international. So having heard so many presentations today, so Mr. Wu, do you have anything to say? And what do you feel about China's business in the future for internationalization? While talking to the international world, anything you wish to share with us at this moment? Well, I personally feel that It should include not only international collaboration or inviting in, but also going out or going international. In my understanding, it should be based on a collective and extensive use of the human resources, technological resources, purchasing resources, manufacturing resources to improve your competitiveness. So this is my understanding of this topic. For production and also for export, we're using our international resources to expand our current portfolio. To go international, all companies, including Chinese companies and finished vehicle companies or spare part companies, have to put going international at a very important position. If you want to work with others, well, this collaboration should be based on the commercial needs and also mutual beneficial needs. All efforts should be made to improve your competitiveness. I've mentioned that the Chinese government has also put forward the suggestion to really make extensive use of the international experience to improve our competitiveness. As Mr. Mao has mentioned, the China Manufacturing 2025 is also a key project mentioning the importance of collaboration on a larger scale. So many of the documents coming from the Chinese government also are all including the international collaboration. If you look ahead into many years, the car market is still plagued by slow speed growth. The product portfolio will have to undergo new changes. Low carbon technology, electrification should be the future way out. Green technologies will be extensively applied. I can remember that last year we supported the Chinese government to form a document mentioning that by 2030, the new energy cars will be accounting for about 50% of the total output in China. By 2020, it will be there will be another figure regulating our current practice or management. So we are facing a lot of tasks, not only to go international, but also to be open wider to the overseas investment. So all these will compel or force us to think more globally. More mergers and acquisitions will occur. Probably in about 10 years' time from now on, things will be entirely different from what it is now. More Chinese companies will rise to the foreground, and these companies that survive this current cycle will be really international big companies. They are highly standardized, professional, internationally oriented. Otherwise, it's difficult for these companies to survive or to be with us for a long time. If you don't go international, it's virtually impossible for you to live on, let alone the domestic market. So for the logistic companies, probably we are facing a much smaller user group, because our user group will be further extended to the outside world instead of to China only. So we will actually do more as part of our revolution or reforms to cope with this trend. So we can't concentrate upon only one customer or one client. On all links, holistic all-link solutions will be provided. The so keen competition will be raising new requests for us. The logistics cost is also a cost of the whole chain. So this is my understanding. That's my understanding of the so-called future direction and the necessity of internationalization. And also, apart from the export of our products, another key manifestation is M&A, setting up plants overseas, setting up R&D centers. They are all internationalization, or even including using overseas capital. We have a figure here. The Chinese companies setting up their businesses abroad, manufacturing around 390,000 cars already. And I think that the figure is likely to increase in the future with we go more and more international. So this is a platform upon which we can do more. The future export and also the future investment overseas will also go hand in hand. Thank you, Mr. Wu. I think this is quite enlightening to us logistic companies. What we care most is to go down to the earth, but probably we forgot to look ahead into the future or to be more generically minded. But I think that, of course, you have to be mindful of those details, but also you have to be bearing in mind the larger picture, the future, the days to come. So as all of us as elites or leadership of each company, are you forward-looking enough to be aware of the future trend is a critical differentiator. So if that is the case, you can finish the whole battle with only half of your efforts. I always tell my friends that so you have to go international and to communicate more effectively with our colleagues from other countries and regions, because development should be based upon the sparks. Two sparks are very important. One is the inspiration from collaboration, the other is from thinking. So these two enlightenments will have to interact with each other. So this type of interaction has to be dependent on how well you will embrace foreign interdependence or foreign collaboration. So you have to really go international.
And today we have three automobile logistic companies gave presentations on their analysis of the import and export market. And they also told you their future development strategies. But the devils are in the details. So what are we going to do right now? What are some of our short-term plans? I'd like to invite the representatives from the three above-mentioned automobile logistic companies to share with you their short-term plan. So first of all, Mr. Gao Feng, can you share with us your immediate actions relating to domestic and international market? We started to do the rail transportation from early on. But as to special vehicle carrying wagon businesses, we only started to do this business last year. As for our short-term plans, during my presentation in the morning, I said that we're focusing on the development of new technology and equipment. Because of the physical barriers between countries and countries, we are trying to figure out how to ensure the connectivity on the railroad between different countries. We made a preliminary study and we made some progress in this regard. I'm sure that in the near future we're going to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And we're designing the new wagons that can make full use of the rail track, that can accommodate as many vehicles as possible in one wagon. And we're trying to strike a balance between the specialty wagon and the wagons that can hold generic products. And there are some policy changes just recently. I think the rail transportation has a certain social responsibility to assume. And the road transportation is appropriate for large volume cargo transportation, and we are making preparations for that. So these are some of the things we're currently doing now. Thank you. Mr. Gu, anything you can tell us? I think I've already told you the most valuable things. I've just told you what we're going to do just recently. I'm going to repeat the most important points. We have a subsidiary in Indonesia. The warehouse and warehousing facilities and the whole systems will be in place in Indonesia to support our OEM. So if you have any logistic need in Indonesia, you can approach us. We have very rich warehouse resources in Thailand, and there's still some extra storage capacity. If you have any need, you can just contact us. In the United States, I just came back to China from the United States last week. Our responsible person in the United States will fly to the United States in the second half of this year to set up our representative office. And we're negotiating with some big clients in the United States, providing management for their warehouses. We'll allocate some extra storage capacity and spaces for the Chinese whole vehicle and spare parts exporters. We not only provide services to our internal clients, but also to our external customers. We're trying to set up a transportation route from Shanghai to Detroit or other auto cities in the United States. If you're interested in this regard, you can approach us. And in the second half of the year, we'll visit Europe, and we're going to conduct a similar study as we did in the United States. We hope to identify more business opportunities after in-depth investigation. Mr. Liu, I think I've told you what we're going to do during my morning presentation. We're going to go far and beyond internationalization. We're going to speed up the establishment of our European network. We have a subsidiary in Germany, and this year we're going to set up another 2 subsidiaries in Poland and Czech Republic to make sure that we had a better geographical coverage in Europe. And we officially started the train transportation from Harbin to Russia. It is hoped that this train will become a weekly train starting from May this year. We hope that it will be a great support to China-Russia trade. And in June this year, we're going to send a designated plane connecting Zhengzhou and Frankfurt. It is a weekly flight. It's a 747 Boeing 747. The air transportation is a very good supplement to road and rail transportation. Thank you very much. I think the discussions on the corporate strategies will be helpful to you. Presentations are sometimes very long, and probably you got a slip of your attention during the presentation. So I asked them to highlight the most salient points in their presentations. Last but not least, I would say that the rural transportation market is a very competitive one. While the vehicle import and export market is in a sluggish way. So I'd love to invite Mr. Liu to give us a forecast on this rural market. Starting from 2016, we believe that the North America is a huge growth point for the vehicle export from China. The company is adjusting to this new situation. North America transportation route is always a stronghold. From Shanghai, Tianjin, or other ports to West America or East America, we're improving our transportation capacity to cater to the needs of the OEM in China.
So we have extensive coverage of all the countries, and including the North Africa and other countries. We have also seen some statistics about the foreign markets. So based upon that, we have to change our production capacity on the American continent. So according to the time schedule, by 3:45, there will be another final Q&A session, which hopefully will wrap up everything. So due to the time limit, it's really close to 3:45. I won't give you any chance to raise any final questions, because anyway we will have a Q&A session, so we don't have to make 2 sessions. And all of the speakers have already given you some brief accounts about their businesses, so can continue our talk during the tea break. Now let's adjourn. Thank you a lot for your attention. Thanks a lot for your participation. So let's meet with each other at 3:45. Thank
谢谢
you.
各位专家，谢谢各位嘉宾。
Thank you a lot for your participation.